Before we dive in, drop a quick hi in the comments. It may seem small, but trust me, it really helps YouTube share this story with more sci-fi fans like us. I'd love to see who's watching.
We nuked the planet to kill him. The signal came back with 2 words: try again. Ambassador Vrelk of the Chictari stood rigid at the foot of the throne, his antennae drawn low in submission, his black mandibles clenched tight in what his species considered respectful fear. The words hung in the chamber like a corpse, twisting from a frayed rope. The throne creaked as the almighty Krakor leaned forward. His thick, reptilian frame shifted with the sound of bone grinding on metal. Armor plates slammed against each other as he moved, crude, heavy, and built for killing, not ceremony. His tail cracked against the floor like a whip. He was angry, and when Krakor got angry, something usually died. Vrelk didn't dare flinch. A single human, on a single rock. You dropped fire from orbit, burned everything that breathes, and you tell me he's alive? Everything stopped. Even the lights seemed afraid to flicker. The Chictari aides lining the wall didn't move, didn't breathe. Vrelk lowered his gaze. The strike was confirmed. A Class 8 nuclear payload deployed. Entire surface rendered uninhabitable. Radiation levels are still climbing. And yet, Krakor growled, leaning forward until his fang-lined jaw was inches from Vrelk's trembling face. He lives. We don't understand how, almighty Krakor. That, Krakor hissed, is because your kind does not understand anything without a caste to assign the blame to. Vrelk tried not to twitch. His lower set of arms remained stiff at his sides, though every nerve in his exoskeleton screamed to flee. It would be worse if he did. Krakor leaned back slowly, resting once more on his massive throne. Tell me, sub-creature, what of the underground? Did you check the tunnels? The caves? Or were you too busy reporting a kill that didn't happen? Vrelk hesitated. Krakor's eyes narrowed. You did not. My lord, we had no indication. You had no indication? Krakor roared, his voice crashing across the chamber like a shockwave. No warrior would assume death without seeing the corpse. No predator leaves the hunt because the prey went silent. The reptilian warlord stood to his full, towering height, claws flexing as he paced down the steps of his throne. Each impact echoed like artillery. Did you send the nitpicks? Vrelk's mandibles twitched. A bead of clear fluid oozed from a gland beneath his jaw. One of the aides rushed forward with a cloth and caught it just in time. Krakor hated the sight of fluid spilled on his floor. We had not yet deployed them. The initial strike was believed sufficient. Krakor stopped. The temperature in the room seemed to plummet. You believed? Vrelk nodded once. You believed a human would die because you asked him to. Another pause. Then, low, terrible laughter. I'm glad your mood has improved, my lord, Vrelk said quietly, antennae twitching in hope. Krakor stepped close, towering over him. Stupid creature, he said, fangs bared. Your logic has no teeth, no instinct, no fury. Behind them, the massive double doors of the war chamber groaned open. A trembling communications drone scurried forward, clicking and buzzing as it bowed low. What is it? Krakor snapped. The drone's voice buzzed through its speaker. A transmission, Lord. Origin, scorched world. Coordinates match sector Theta 9. Vrelk blinked. Almighty Krakor froze. I already know, you useless scrap pile, he growled. Out of my sight. Krakor turned toward the star map. His voice dropped, heavy and low. Play it again. A different drone, embedded in the room's central pillar, obeyed. The transmission filled the chamber. No encryption. No code. Just 2 words, burned into the static like a scar across the stars. Try again. Almighty Krakor stared at the blinking light, his claws clenched. And somewhere, beneath the crust of that ruined world, something moved 4 hours earlier. Dante Strix leaned against the reinforced console of a half-lit war room, arms crossed, half listening, half annoyed. On the other end of the tactical table stood General Edward Montgomery, known across half the outer colonies as the Kraken. Not because he was elegant, or tentacled, or subtle, but because once he got sent into a sector, nothing crawled back out. The Kraken wasn't a man built for negotiation. He was built for demolition. And now he was giving Dante an errand. "You want me to go pick up rock data?" Dante asked, blinking slowly. "I'm flattered." "It's not rock," Montgomery said, tapping the console. "It's proto-alloy embedded in the crust, the kind nobody has except the Krakor. We want scans before they weaponize it." Dante cocked his head. "Still feels like a junior officer job. I'm Ares 9. You send me when you want someone dead in 5 minutes without leaving a footprint." The Kraken didn't blink. "That system's free sovereignty space. You know what that means." Dante sighed. Random alien turf wars, garbage pirates, smugglers, warlords, maybe a religious cult if I'm lucky. "Exactly," Kraken said. "Normal soldiers would freeze if things went sideways. I need someone who won't." There was a beat of silence. Then Dante gave a shrug and a crooked smile. "Fine. I'll go babysit your space dirt. Bring it back intact. No promises." He turned to leave, already hearing Shakira, his AI, booting up the ship's systems from across the hangar. Shakira was his co-pilot, and occasionally his therapist. She hated his singing. He hated her warnings. It was a functional relationship. The Gravedigger wasn't a pretty ship, but it was his. Matte black hull, illegal plasma turrets, no insignias, built like a bar fight in vacuum. Dante climbed into the cockpit, flicked switches, and was immediately greeted with the soft hum of Earth's ancient music. Shakira's voice, the singer, not the ship, echoed in the cabin. "Whenever, wherever, we're meant to be together." "Really? Shakira again?" "You wound me," Dante said, keying in the jump coordinates. "This is classic. This is history. And that's where you got your name from. This is off-key torture. Your singing is murdering music that's already 1,000 years old." Dante grinned and continued singing anyway. "Badly. If you hit that chorus, I swear on my core I'll blow the airlock." The threat lingered, but it was too late. The Gravedigger hit FTL like an arrow punching through its target. Hours later, they arrived. The planet had no official owner, but ever since the almighty Krakor enslaved the Chictari, it was his by domination, not law. Dante's boots hit the surface with a hard crunch. The atmosphere was thin but breathable. Broken rock stretched for miles under red dust and ancient scars. Old Chictari mining shafts still ran beneath the surface, abandoned but intact. The shaft was colder than expected. Alloy walls lined with dust, rusted consoles half swallowed by time. Dante swept his light across a wall map etched into metal, a full layout of the tunnels. Jackpot. He found 3 sealed service doors and a broken power node crusted in fossilized mold. Junk to most. But to Dante? Potential. He started dragging equipment into the main chamber, already sorting what he could fix, repurpose, or weaponize. Spare wiring, panel access codes, forgotten tools, all still buried in the dark, just waiting for hands like his. People thought he was just a killer. But give him scrap and a socket wrench, he'd build you a war. Once the room was secure and the gear was stacked, he got to work. No drama. No shots fired, just a soldier running a clean extraction. Seismic scans, core readings, structural imaging, everything the brass wanted. He uploaded the data to Shakira in under 2 hours. "Alloys confirmed," she said. "Uploading to command." Dante dusted off his gloves. Well, that was anticlimactic. You say that like it's a bad thing. He didn't answer. He was already climbing back to orbit. He was just reaching for the music controls when Shakira spoke. "Contact," she said. "Emergency FTL exit. 20 clicks out. Civilian signature. Medical ship." Dante looked up from his coffee pouch. Medical? Something forced them out of jump. Another ping. Multiple inbound hostiles, pirate signatures, one ship, registry matches, crazy bastards. Dante's face twisted. Oh, them. He was already flipping toggles, weapons priming, shields humming. The skirmish was fast, violent, and one-sided. The crazy bastards were infamous, a loosely organized gang of psychos who didn't care who they stole from, as long as it was bleeding. Their single vessel, a retrofitted corvette, was hammering the medical ship's flank, trying to disable life support. Dante dropped in from above like a silent judgment. No warnings, no demands, just clean, brutal energy bursts into their rear engine pods. "They're turning to engage," Shakira warned. "I hope so." They never got the chance. He disabled their core, then sliced them apart one section at a time. When the medical ship finally limped away into FTL, Dante was already smoking and venting fuel from 2 ruptured points. "Damage report?" he asked. "Hull integrity at 41%. Reactor shielding compromised. Nav array offline. You're a flying coffin." "Romantic," he muttered. "Can you land us?" "Define land." "Anywhere, not space." "Nearest planetary body, the one showing on your scanner." "Cracor controlled." Of course, it wasn't a landing. It was a controlled crash. The gravedigger slammed down 100 meters from the shaft entrance, skidding across broken rock and hitting hard enough to fold the rear struts. By rights, Dante should have been paced. But the crash seat was reinforced with bone dampeners, and his internal bracing system kept his spine from folding like a chair. His injured arm was another story, though. Shakira fizzled and died halfway through the descent. He rebooted her once the sparks stopped flying. "We're alive?" she asked. Her voice came through, groggy and glitching. "We're lucky. That shaft absorbed most of the impact. But you'll need a week to fix this." "I only need 3 hours." "To fix the ship?" he asked. "No, to fix your arm." His left forearm was out of alignment, bone still intact, but the skeletal plating was misaligned. He wrenched it back into place, following Shakira instructions with a grunt and some choice curses. After 3 hours, he could finally check out his surroundings. The shaft walls were old, Chictari engineering, all hex-lined steel and air-stabilized corridors. He sealed himself into a storage chamber 2 levels down. Radiation couldn't touch him here. Neither could their satellites. For the next 30 minutes, he checked equipment, patched his suit, drank stale water from the reserves, and tried not to laugh at how stupid the day had become. Then Shakira came back online with a chime. "Incoming energy spike." He paused. "What kind of spike?" "Orbital signature. It's a payload. Class 8 nuclear. Detonation in 30 seconds. Dante blinked. "They dropped a nuke?" "Correct." He looked up at the cave ceiling. "Wow, little overkill, don't you think?" "They seem invested." The floor shook. The shaft walls groaned. For 10 full seconds, the planet screamed like it was dying. Then, silence. Smoke. Dust. Dimming emergency lights. He stood up, brushed ash off his shoulder, and rolled his neck. "Damage report?" he asked. "Ship's buried. Communications array fried. Life support stable. Radiation levels lethal. On the surface. Figures. He walked to the one console still active. The transmitter. Short range only. He keyed in a frequency. No encryption. No code. Just 2 words. Try again. Try again. The message hissed into silence, echoing once more through the chamber like a curse the stars themselves refused to erase. Ambassador Vrelk dared not move. None of them did. The almighty Krakor remained still for 3 long, unbearable seconds. Then he stood, slowly. The sound of his armor rising was like metal plates grinding over bone. The drone that delivered the message hovered in place, still projecting a blinking red icon. Still alive. Still speaking. Krakor turned. Did I ask it to repeat? The chamber shuddered. The drone, as if realizing its sin too late, let out a final chirp. Try again. Krakor's clawed hand slammed through it, splitting its core in half. Sparks! Smoke! A hiss like a dying animal! He turned toward Vrelk. You told me the human was dead. You said the payload would leave nothing. Vrelk's second set of hands trembled behind his back. I attempted to warn you, almighty Krakor. You attempted nothing. You obeyed slowly and reported late. Vrelk opened his mouth again, datapad in hand. Krakor wasn't listening. He was already moving to the war table. He's underground. So be it. Send in the nitpicks. But my lord, flood the shafts. Bleed the tunnels dry. I want him melted from the inside out. Below, deep beneath the scorched surface, Dante was in the middle of improving his low transmitter for a long-range transmission when the walls began to vibrate. Not from an explosion, not from tectonics. Buzzing. Like a hive. Dante froze, pulse steady but breath sharp. He could feel it through his boots, like something chewing its way through steel. Shakira, what the hell is that? Motion sensors lighting up like a fireworks parade, she said. Multiple heat signatures. Small, fast. Biological with mech traces. He grabbed the only working rifle he'd patched together from shaft scrap, then moved toward the tunnel bend. How many? Too many. The hum was rising, layered, rhythmic, almost patterned, like a sound check before a murder. Shakira, give me something. What are we dealing with? Analyzing, she said. Nitpicks. Another gift from the Krakor. Her voice started glitching. Matching. Sonic resonance detected. Comparing patterns. Now would be good. Cross-referencing. Oh no. Oh no, what? I know how to stop them. But you're not going to like it. Tell me. You're singing. Dante blinked. Excuse me. Their swarm behavior's coordinated by vibrational resonance. The frequency you hit when you sang, poorly, matches a neural disruption threshold in their biomechanical swarm link. Wait, are you saying I'm their kryptonite? Yes. Your voice is a biological weapon. May the stars have mercy. The buzzing got louder. The first nitpick skittered into view. Small, crab-like things with stingers like heated needles and servo legs that clicked in unison. Play it, Dante said. Dante, I recorded that to shame you, not to save your life. Play it anyway. She triggered the external broadcast. Through the jagged speaker array of the half-crushed gravedigger came the sound of Dante Strix belting out ancient earth pop, off-key, loud. We never, wherever. The nitpicks froze mid-charge, twitched. One let out a shriek, then another. Then, pop, like overcooked fruit. Then another burst. Then 5 more. A cascade of exploding insects, writhing in sonic agony as Dante's tone-deaf assault filled the shaft. He watched, half-stunned. Shakira muted the playback with disgust. Your voice just melted a genetically weaponized swarm, Dante. Told you I had range. In orbit, reports came in, and Krakor did not like what he heard. The war chamber reeked of ozone and humiliation. Confirmed, my lord. All nitpicks neutralized. No survivors. Acoustic overload detected prior to detonation. Source: unclear. Almighty Krakor stood before the tactical holotable, claws flexing so hard the bone beneath his scales cracked. His nostrils flared as the AI drone beside him finished its report. He didn't respond. His breathing deepened. Muscles in his jaw twitched. He stared at the projection of the shaft where his swarm had gone silent. Acoustic overload? Yes, Lord. Audio interference at a frequency that disrupted swarm cohesion. Data integrity suggests intentional broadcast. Krakor turned to the drone. You're telling me a sound killed them? The drone hesitated. Yes, Lord. From a human? Another pause. Then All-Might Krakor's tail lashed sideways and obliterated the drone against the obsidian wall. Sparks scattered. Aides flinched. He turned, slow, menacing, toward Vrelk. You. Insect. Explain. Vrelk had already been shaking. Now he was trembling like his joints would snap. The human, my lord. He is not a civilian. His name is Dante Strix. Augmented Recon. Unit Ares 9. You knew this. I attempted to inform you earlier, but... Silence. Krakor's eyes narrowed into slits. The name echoed in his mind like acid on metal. Dante. He stared at the holomap, then turned to his personal console. Ship AI. Contact Commander Montgomery. Now. Secure line requested. Confirm authority. I am the All-Might Krakor. My authority is the line. The system obeyed. A flicker. Then a secure channel opened, and the unmistakable face of General Edward Montgomery, the Kraken, filled the projection. He was sipping something that might have been coffee, in direct violation of every unspoken rule of war etiquette. Well, Montgomery said, setting his mug down. Commander Krakor, to what do I owe the displeasure? Krakor's eyes narrowed. It's Almighty Krakor, and one of your humans is trespassing in my domain. Montgomery tilted his head. Your domain? You mean the planet you stole from the Chiktari 50 cycles ago? That one? Your soldier destroyed my swarm. Must have been a bad swarm. He will surrender, or I will glass the entire surface. Funny thing, Krakor. Montgomery leaned forward. I heard you already tried. Besides, Dante doesn't surrender, and you can't glass what you already nuked and failed to kill. Krakor's mandibles clicked. It's Almighty Krakor. You will retrieve your dog. Already on the way? Montgomery's smile didn't reach his eyes. And if you try to interfere, I'll show you what a real extinction-level event looks like. Silence pulsed across the line. Commander Krakor, Montgomery added with a polite nod. Unpleasure's been all mine. The feed cut. Krakor's claws dug into the console. He didn't scream. He didn't roar. He simply turned to Vrelk, eyes glowing. You allowed a human fleet to approach my world. You allowed this infestation to spread. My lord, take the command of a fleet. Kill the human before he reaches orbit, and make sure that you obey my order before the Kraken appears. Orbit. 22 minutes after the Nitpick's defeat. Vrelk stood at the center of his fleet's command deck, mandibles tight with restraint. He'd arrived early, by order of the Almighty, with 3 cruisers and a full escort. 20 minutes had passed in orbit over the scorched planet. 20 minutes of doing nothing. Just waiting. Exactly what he knew Krakor would later call cowardice. But he wasn't about to start a war with the humans. Not today. The holosphere pulsed. "New contact," one of his bridge aides whispered. "Large formation. Human signature." A moment later, space rippled. The Kraken fleet arrived. 12 ships in formation, matte gray hulls, old Earth insignias faded by battle and blackened by plasma. And leading them, dead center in the formation, was the flagship, UEV Kraken. A brute of a ship, ugly, slow, unstoppable. Vrelk's antennae lowered as the encrypted hail arrived. He accepted it instantly. The holoprojector activated, and General Edward Montgomery appeared. Calm, focused, and just as terrifying in silence as in battle. "Ambassador Vrelk," Kraken said, his voice polite, almost soft. "I see you brought friends." "My orders were to intercept the human," Vrelk said, bowing slightly. "But I have. Not engaged." "Smart choice," Kraken replied. He tapped something off screen. "Sending down a pickup now. Let's keep things clean." Vrelk nodded once. "Understood. I will not interfere." Surface, 6 minutes later. A human gunship cut through the smoky sky, flying low over broken rock and scorched ground. It reached the collapsed shaft and set down hard, landing struts hissing as they hit the surface. Dante emerged from the underground hatch, dirty, tired, and still humming whatever Shakira had last cursed him for. The gunship's ramp lowered. A squad of med-engineers ran to assist, but he waved them off and carried Gravedigger's core processor himself. The black cube pulsed with faint blue light. "She's heavy," Dante muttered, "but she screams in 3 languages. Be gentle." The team loaded the AI into the gunship's core housing. Dante stepped inside, gave the shaft one last look. Then they lifted off. Orbit. Moments later. The gunship rejoined the fleet without resistance. Vrelk hadn't moved. His own bridge officers glanced at him, some expecting retaliation. He gave none. Instead, he requested a direct line to the Kraken. Montgomery appeared again, now aboard his flagship, standing beside Dante. Dante gave Vrelk a curious glance. "That's the bug who didn't shoot us?" "The very one," Kraken replied. Vrelk bowed again. "Commander Montgomery, Sergeant Dante Strix, congratulations on surviving the nitpicks. And thank you." Dante blinked. "For what?" "Those biomechanical swarms. They were the reason my people lost our war. We could never stop them. Not with fire, not with logic. But you did, in your way." He looked down, voice low. Dante offered the slightest smirk. "Glad my voice was finally good for something." Kraken cut in. "Vrelk, you were given orders to kill him. Why didn't you?" "Because, Commander, it would have been a war, and I have no more strength for that. It's time to let it go." Kraken didn't respond. He ended the call. After the humans left, Vrelk stood before a holoscreen in a darkened chamber aboard his returning ship for a few minutes. Then he requested a connection with the almighty Krakor. The warlord's eyes glowed, his eyes narrowed. "The human escaped. The way I see you, you let them take him. You defied my orders." "I followed my instinct, my lord. The Kraken came ready to kill. A battle would have cost us much." Krakor leaned forward. "You mean it would have cost you?" Vrelk did not reply. "You let them take my prisoner, And now, we look weak. Silence. You are no longer useful to me. My lord, please, You are hereby reassigned to the glacial garden. The screen went black. Vrelk stood in silence. The chamber around him felt 10 degrees colder already. The transport didn't land so much as shove him out. Vrelk hit the snow hard, the impact sending a dull ache through all 4 limbs. His breath crystallized the moment it left his mandibles. The wind bit into his joints, slow, gnawing. Not lethal. Not yet. But he could feel it, settling in, the way it crept under his plating. This wasn't exile, it was erosion. The glacial garden stretched before him in all directions, a vast white graveyard under a pale green sun. There were no walls, no guards, just the cold and silence. Not even a farewell transmission from Krakor. Not that he'd expected one. A faint blue light blinked in the distance, half buried in snow. The outpost. He walked. Inside the outpost, the door opened with a shriek. Old hydraulics, barely maintained. Vrelk stepped into recycled air thick with sterilizer and rust. 3 Chictari sat inside, gathered around a flickering console. A few other species lingered in the shadows, silent, thin, half forgotten. He'd assumed only Chictari were exiled here. Apparently not. None stood. None saluted. One of them, a massive, cracked-shelled male with dimmed ocular ridges, slowly turned to him. "You're early," he rasped. "Good. We needed a replacement." Vrelk straightened his posture, still trying to adjust to the chill in his limbs. "I wasn't told I'd be joining others." "You're not," the old one said. "You're replacing one." He coughed once, a dry, rasping sound, and gestured to a station across the room. "Name's Rent. I ran the seismic logs. Now you do." Vrelk hesitated. "That's all." Rent looked at him. "We are not prisoners, not soldiers, no longer threats or assets. We are maintenance." He paused. "Until we freeze." The others returned to their work, silent, mechanical, resigned. Rent kept watching him. "You'll feel it soon," he said. "The garden gets in your blood. Not fast, not loud. Just deeper. Every cycle. Until it finds the part of you that matters most. And then it kills that too." He coughed again and returned to his terminal. Vrelk found his seat. No orders. No mission. Just ice and waiting. Unity Spire, Council Sector. The Unity Spire wasn't made for comfort. It was made for spectacle. Stretching from the crust of the neutral moon into low orbit, the structure pierced the stars like a blade. Metal, crystal, and reinforced politics. Inside, entire species shuffled past each other in diplomatic silence, each wearing robes, armor, or symbiotic organisms that screamed importance. Dante hated it already. He walked 3 paces behind Montgomery, fully armored and fully bored. No weapons allowed, technically. That just meant none they could detect. Shakira's voice buzzed in his ear. "You sure were invited. You didn't wear the robe. If I ever wear a robe, shoot me." "With what?" "You're unarmed. Don't tempt me to improvise." Kraken didn't speak, but Dante could see his shoulders tense just slightly. He was listening. He always was. They approached the grand hall, a colossal chamber lit by suspended star mirrors and punctuated by rows of ambassadors on tiered platforms. The council session started a few minutes later. A representative from the Asari species, glass-skinned, translucent nervous system, droned through procedural complaints about trade violations. Dante stopped listening after the first minute, but when the floor yielded to a new voice, cold, deep, and entirely too smug, he straightened. Almighty Krakor stood in person, draped in ceremonial war armor, his claws polished to obsidian sheen. He moved with the confidence of someone who expected the galaxy to make room. Flanked by 2 silent honor guards and several minor species clearly pledging their allegiance to him, he took the floor like it was already his. "Members of the Council," Krakor boomed, every word shaped for volume, not humility. "One of my worlds was violated by a human agent. A genetically tailored swarm, designed for subterranean defense, was destroyed by what appears to be acoustic interference, a sound weapon." Gasps and murmurs. Krakor wasn't finished. "This is a violation of Treaty 9C, human biological experimentation, territorial aggression. The Krakor Dominion calls for sanctions and stands ready to enforce them." Dante muttered. "He's really saying my singing was a war crime." "I'd agree, but for diplomatic reasons I'll stay silent," Montgomery said. More murmurs. A few delegates seemed to nod at Almighty Krakor. He was already working the room. Subtle glances, nods from smaller factions clearly looking to align themselves with his growing dominance. Then Kraken stepped forward. "General Edward Montgomery, representing the Earth Concordat." He didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. "One operative, a solo recon unit, on a planet you nuked. He survived. You didn't. Now you're here trying to legislate your embarrassment into a galactic incident." Krakor's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing yet. Montgomery went on. "You want sanctions? Earn them. You want war? Start it. But don't pretend your empire of chains is the victim here." A pause. "You brought fire. He brought noise. I'd call it a fair trade. He trespassed. He lived. Something your elite swarm couldn't do." The room stirred. Tension snapped like a taut cable. The council chair called for a recess, but the damage was done. Krakor turned without another word and walked back to his seat, surrounded by his allies. Montgomery leaned toward Dante. "We just made his list." "Pretty sure I was already on it," Dante muttered. The UEV Kraken drifted through deep void, silent except for the faint hum of post-council tension. Dante leaned back in his chair, boots up, helmet off, drinking something that might have been coffee if brewed by a war criminal. "Next time you drag me to a diplomatic summit," he muttered, "I'm bringing a flamethrower." The Kraken, standing at the forward console, didn't turn. "And I'll bring earplugs." Shakira's voice crackled in Dante's neural link. "Scanning encrypted comm records from orbit. I found something strange." Dante sighed. "You fought a swarm with a love song. Define strange." A pause. "I'm picking up your voice." Dante blinked. "Okay, rude. Not your voice now. A recording. Low bandwidth echo embedded in background noise. Audio signature matches your off-key assault from the shaft." The Kraken turned slightly. "Why would your voice be bouncing around encrypted comm logs?" "Because," Shakira said slowly, "someone piggybacked a data stream onto the song." She paused. "Dante, they used your terrible singing as a delivery system." Dante squinted at the console. "Wait, you're saying I'm a secret weapon and a data courier?" "No," Shakira deadpanned. "You're just loud. But whoever sent this was smart." Lines of data scrolled across her projection. Maps, charts, biosignatures, seismic readings. Then, microbacteria, genetically unknown, thermal resistant, photosynthetic under green radiation, lifespan impact, exponential. Dante leaned forward. "That's from the glacial garden?" Shakira's voice was quiet. "Confirmed." Then a second file appeared. A message. No signature. Just audio. One voice. Familiar. "To the human who sings louder than death, I hope you understand this better than they will." The Kraken nodded. Vrelk. Dante sat upright. "He sent us the damn cure to dying?" "No," Shakira said. "He sent us the reason Almighty Krakor can't have this planet." A silence passed. Then the Kraken turned to the ops console. "Prep a recon team. Get me a scientist who can operate in sub-zero deep range. Black level protocol." Dante stood. "Guess I'm going back to the freezer." "Of course," Shakira muttered. "Hell is too warm for you anyway."
Hey there, space human. I'm really curious about your thoughts on this video. Drop a quick comment and let me know what's on your mind. Or just say hi if you prefer. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Also, remember to check the pinned comment. Trust me, it's worth a look. Oh, and one last thing. I've chosen another video for you to watch. Just click the card here. Or here if you want the whole playlist. See you there.